Ahoy, hello dear listeners, welcome to another podcast, and I would like to also welcome here my today's guest, Mr. Richard Savage, English lecturer, musician, and voice artist, and also a Briton living in the Czech Republic. Welcome, Richard.
Hello.
What did you know about Czech Republic before ever coming here?
Very little. Only what I'd learnt in history class. I knew it was communist, it was poor, it was in Russia, uh, that kind of thing. My knowledge of that changed rapidly before I actually came to live here. I came as a musician to tour in Europe, and we played in Poland and the Czech Republic, so I kind of knew about it from that. But my preconception was very, very English. It was Czechoslovakia, and that's somewhere near Moscow.
Okay. Well, one Japanese friend told me that before she came to the Czech Republic, she had maybe a similar idea, like you said. So she packed extra toilet paper to her bag just to be safe when she arrives. So when you actually came to the Czech Republic, you said you were pleasantly surprised. So what does it mean that you were not expecting, but it was there?
I was surprised by how friendly everybody was, despite what Czechs will tell you. Czechs think they're cold people. They're not. They're just hard to get to know. And I was surprised at how resilient Czechs are. It's like a nation that's been invaded 1 billion times, and it's like during the invasion, people are like, oh, okay, when this one's over, we'll get on with life again.
Here we go again.
Yeah, what again? Who's invading this time?
So what actually made you considering Czech Republic as a place where you would like to spend a few decades?
Before coming here, nothing. I would never even have considered it. But after living here, which originally I did because I thought it would be a year of new experience, new people, new culture, new life. But I don't know. The life here just suited me, and I just kind of stayed. And I don't intend going anywhere else. I just kind of never went away.
Okay, so I was hoping that I will hear some amazing stuff about the Czech Republic, but your reason is that you are just lazy, so that's why you decided to stay.
No, what I meant by that was that the Czech lifestyle suits me. I don't like the British way of life. It's very fast. It's all about time and money and getting to where you got to go and doing what you got to do as quickly as possible so you can move on to the next thing. But here, people, they enjoy living life instead of working. You know, people here are not obsessed with going to work. There's the thing that, do you work to live or do you live to work? And Czechs work to live. So they work so that they've got the things that they want to have to get on with life, because life is more important than work. And I liked that. And it's much slower here, much slower. It was back then anyway.
What about the communistic past? Were you a bit afraid coming to the country with such history?
Yes, I was. After spending time in Poland before I actually came to live here, it was even more run down than the Czech Republic. You know, there were no motorways to drive on. I think there was like one half a motorway that went in one direction towards Warsaw or something like that. And it was very, very run down. And I was really afraid that when I came here, that, you know, there would be power cuts all the time, and, you know, the infrastructure wouldn't work, and the buses would keep breaking down, and all this kind of stuff. The buildings would be falling to pieces, which wasn't entirely true. Just a little.
Okay. Well, what I like to say is that the Czech Republic is like the best of the worst, I would say. Because, you know, whenever you see some ranking of European countries, there is still like this West countries and east countries. We are technically central country, but still they are putting us to the east. But still we are like the number one, like when it comes to the unemployment rate or even income or quality of life. Czech Republic is like the best option from the former East Bloc. So
and I think that's got a lot to do with what I talked about, the resilience of the Czechs, that they just bounce back. And it's like, okay, right, now we can do what we want again, and we're free once more. So let's get on and do, where we left off before. Let's get back to manufacturing quality cars instead of crap cars, and let's get back to doing this. And Czechs just get on with it. They moan about it, but they get on with it. But everyone moans about it, so that's not a Czech thing. And people are always shocked when I tell them that Prague is further west than Vienna.
Yes.
They don't believe me.
Yeah.
Because they think it's like this and this. They're like completely separate countries.
What about you and Czech food?
I like a lot of Czech food. It's good, wholesome food. It's it's real food that was going to fill you up. It's going to warm you up. You're not going to be hungry after it. I just wish that in the restaurants especially, they would put a little less salt in the food, because it's very salty. That might be just my English sense of taste, but it's very salty.
You are living in Pilsen, which is a bit unusual because usually expats just go to Prague and live there. So why did you choose another city?
Okay, well, I've never lived in Prague. That's the first thing. When I first came here, I lived for 3 years in Sedlčany, which is a small town in middle Bohemia. It's like Middle Earth.
I've never been there.
No, they make cheese and knives to cut the cheese, I imagine. I don't know. So yeah, I lived there for 3 years. That was purely by chance. The people I knew came from that town, and I worked there as a teacher for 3 years. And then I got a job in Pilsen. I was looking for another job, and then I found a job. That's a lyric by the Smiths. And I moved to Pilsen. It was pure chance. I did look for work in Prague. I could easily have moved to Prague, but I'm glad I didn't, because I don't like big cities.
Well, wouldn't it be easier for you to live in Prague? I can just imagine that being in Pilsen, it can be quite difficult to find, for example, English-speaking doctor. Or am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. It's very difficult. I don't know any. But in my situation, because I lived for 3 years in Middle Earth, so there was even less English there. So I was kind of forced to learn Czech very, very quickly, just to like buy food and stuff like this. But I'm also the kind of person, I believe that if you live in a country, it's only polite to learn the language. So I don't have a problem speaking Czech. By the time I'd moved to Pilsen, my Czech was starting to be kind of, usable. But even here, there's quite a lot of English-speaking people, just in pubs and restaurants and shops and things. But my doctor doesn't speak English. My dentist doesn't speak English. Oh no, my new dentist does. But that's purely by chance. I never went out specifically to look for like an English-speaking doctor or an English-speaking dentist or an English-speaking anything. I think that's the easy way out. I don't like the easy way out.
Okay, so you came to the Czech Republic in the year of 2002, so I can imagine that during those times it was still quite difficult to get around using English, because formerly people were learning Russian at school and only the younger generation speaks English. Do you believe that now it would be easier if some Briton would move to the Czech Republic?
You're right with back then, in 2002, the kids at school were speaking English quite well. And those are there now, the adults who are in the working world. So anybody who came here now would have the experience of those people who learned English like in the early 2000s or late 90s. And I think it would be easier, but again, it depends where you go. But I do think that Czechs are now more inclined towards learning languages. They understand that to get ahead in the world, you need to speak to people, so you need to speak the language. Unlike the other way around, if you went to Britain, you'd have big problems finding anybody who didn't speak any language other than English.
What's your favorite Czech tradition?
My favorite Czech tradition? That's a really good question. I really like a lot of the traditions. They haven't been too commercialized yet. So even the big ones like Christmas and Easter, they're still very, very Czech. And I really like that. You know, Christmas is a family affair. You don't have to cover your house in Christmas lights and all this kind of thing. So it's much more, the traditions are much more friendly. There are some I don't like.
Right, getting to the next question.
To the next question.
What's the weirdest Czech tradition?
There are two. There are two weird Czech traditions. One is Mikuláš, which is a great Czech tradition. I really like Mikuláš. It's on the 5th of December, which is weird because his name day is actually the 6th. And I like this tradition that kids get rewarded. It's like the precursor to Christmas. Mikuláš was in Europe before Christmas was, as we know it now. And Santa Claus comes from Mikuláš. So Mikuláš was here first. But Mikuláš comes with an angel and a devil. And Mikuláš normally comes with an angel and like hundreds of devils, because everybody wants to dress up as a devil. The whole idea being that if the kids have been bad, the devil's going to put the kid in his sack and drag him off to hell. And the kids are absolutely scared out of their minds. I've seen children screaming with fear because there's a little devil coming for them. And I just think that's wrong and cruel, and the parents should not do this to their children. I mean, I imagine that, you know, in medieval times, it probably taught the kids a lesson. You know, you're going to be good or the devil's going to drag you off. But in the 21st century, I think maybe it should evolve slightly.
Okay, I will probably surprise you, but this tradition actually comes from Germany. And
that
here...
doesn't surprise me, actually.
And in Germany, it's worse, I would say. There is Saint Nicholas, it's the same person as in the Czech Republic. And there is the devil, or a lot of devils, and they are much more scary than those ones in the Czech Republic. And the angel is missing. So there is no one to save the kid, because usually when there comes Nicholas, there is like the devil, and they are like, oh, you have been bad, the devil will take you. And the angel comes in and says, no, he will be better. But in Germany, there's no angel, no one to save you. So I was telling it to my German friends, like that we have the same tradition, but we have this like angel person, and they were like, okay, sounds like a good idea, but no, we have only devils. Now it doesn't sound so bad, right?
Is that the ones where they dress up and they have like these huge horns and things?
Exactly. Those are German ones. Those they call them Krampus.
That's the one. And they dance around with big chains and things and fire. Yeah, that's scary stuff for me, and I'm an adult, you know, most of the time. And
maybe I will be able to guess the second weirdest tradition for you. That will be Easter, right?
Yeah. That's the Pomlaska, whipping women with a big cane, especially in today's society and the way things are in today's world. I think that's something that has to change.
Well, I'm Czech and it's super weird for me, so I'm voting for Easter Bunny as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Easter Bunny is weird enough. You know, it's a Christian celebration with a bunny that brings chocolate.
Chocolate eggs coming from the bunny.
Of all things, yeah. Yeah, where does the bunny get chocolate? Does he lay chocolate?
I don't want to know, because
don't ask the bunny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think whipping women in order for them to be healthy is just weird.
How are you handling black Czech humor?
It's actually more similar to British humor than people think. One of the great things about British humor is the British are very good at making fun of themselves. But yeah, black humor is good because it's just weird. And you just think, oh,
Well,
that's so wrong, but it's so funny.
well, coming from the United Kingdom, I guess that you are a bit more used to political correctness than what you are seeing in the Czech Republic. Is it correct?
Yes, a lot more. Well, what other people call political correctness, the British call being a person. Here, it almost doesn't exist. I'm constantly shocked. You know, my wife often tells me, "Stop being so British." But I just think people, you know, should be nicer to each other.
If there would be any Briton considering moving to the Czech Republic, which advice would you give to him or her?
I would advise them to learn a bit of the language and to try to relax those very British ways of thinking. One of the things I really liked about Czechs when I first moved here was that they just don't care about anything. They'll just do whatever because it's what you do. And they don't care whether anybody else thinks it's right or wrong. Now I'm beginning to understand that that's not such a good thing sometimes. But it was one of the things that attracted me to Czechs. And I think Britons would have to shed some of that stiff upper lip Britishness. I think would be the best advice I could give anybody, and learn to drink beer, good beer.
What about the fact that Czech Republic is pretty much atheistic country? Do you believe that it might be a problem for Britons?
No, because lots of people in Britain claim to be religious, but never go to church. I can say this because this was me. I grew up as a Christian. I was raised Christian, but I studied the Bible at school because I didn't want to do sports. That's how much it meant to me.
Okay, in the Czech Republic, you
So,
have to do sport. No other option.
yeah, there's no Bible study instead of sport. So yeah, being an atheist country doesn't bother me at all. I like that a lot. And it's interesting that the friends I have who are religious are in the minority. In the UK, it's the other way around.
You are right. In the Czech Republic, it works the way that if you are coming somewhere and for whatever reason you would say, for example, I'm a Catholic, people would be like, oh, okay, so what about dinosaurs? So maybe you should brace yourself that such thing might come. And that would be maybe my advice if you come to the Czech Republic and you want to live here and you are religious. Czechs keep their religious stuff just for themselves. It's not very
Yeah,
common to talk about it publicly,
yeah.
and I wouldn't recommend you to do that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All the friends I have, very few, but the friends I do have who are religious, I didn't know they were religious for years. I mean, like 10 years before I found out that they're like practicing Catholics. I was like, I never knew that. How did I not know that? Because it's a very private thing. The one religion I think which people are not afraid of talking about is people who are Jewish. I think maybe that's probably the connection with Second World War and communism and things like this.
Well, when you are mentioning Judaism, you are correct, because actually Czech Republic is like super friend of Israel.
Mm-hmm.
For some historic reasons, Czech Republic helped them like in the beginning of the state. I believe they sent them some support, and I heard that the people there still know about it. And even like when something in politics happens, Czech politicians are usually on the side of Israel and not
Mm-hmm.
the other countries around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, as you are coming from the United Kingdom, where there is queen and monarchy, and you are now in the Czech Republic, where there is democratic system with president. So, what are your feelings? Which system is better?
I think that the system with the president is better. I'm not a royalist at all, but you know, the Czech Republic specifically still has a long way to go, still recovering from communism, still recovering from the honeymoon of we're free, and still a lot of the politicians including the current president and prime minister, they do have close connections to communism. That is a problem. I think in 20 years' time, it'll be a different story.
Do you believe that the Czech Republic is a better country for introverts than the UK?
I think it's easier to be private here because Czechs generally are private people. They don't like talking about themselves or their family situations, or don't ever talk about your feelings. So Czechs are very kind of closed people until you get to know them. When they open up, they're fantastic, but it's quite difficult to get through. And as a teacher, I discovered this in classes where you have a group of 20-year-old kids and you'd ask them a question, and a lot of them would be like, "Ooh, why do you want to know that?" Whereas if that was in the UK, they'd be all like, "Yeah, blah, 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 blah," telling you how I feel. But here they don't. So I think for introverts, Czech Republic would be much, much better because people are not going to ask you if you don't want to.
Yeah, I was speaking to another Czech who is living in the United Kingdom, and for me personally and for many other Czech people, it's super creepy when some stranger comes to you and says, "How are you?" And you're like,
What's it going to do you?
Yeah, it's none of your business. This is just one small question that's probably not that much interesting for the people, but as I was talking to my friend living in the UK, we were talking about the beer because, Czechs, we have to talk about beer. And he was not sure what's like the most famous British beer. He could figure out only Guinness, but that's Irish beer.
It's Irish,
Yeah.
It's interesting because in an English pub, when you order a drink, when you order a beer, you ask for a specific brand. So you would go into the pub and you'd say, "I'll have a pint of Carling, please." Whereas in a Czech pub, you walk in and go, "I'll have a beer, please." And they give you the beer that they sell in the pub. So I think Carling would be the most popular English beer, but I think most English people, especially the ones I know, they very rarely actually drink English beer. They will drink continental beer.
You are a musician, and I have seen that on your YouTube channel you have a cover version of Czech song from Vypsaná fixa.
Yes, I do.
Do you like Czech music?
I like Vypsaná fixa. I have discovered that the Czech language doesn't really suit the traditional style of singing, like rock music or things like this. So all the bands that I do like, they sing as if they're talking, kind of thing. It's because Czech is a very monotonic language. There's very little intonation when people are speaking. It's like you speak on one level, and then if it's a question, then you're going to go up at the end. And if you're talking like that, and if it's not a question, then you go down at the end. And that's it.
And what's your favorite Czech movie?
There is one movie which I really like simply because of its weirdness. That's Hoří Panenko. And I have no idea what it's called in English, although I believe it's Miloš Forman.
Yes.
It's Miloš Forman.
Yes.
And that's just weird movie. Weird. Anybody, going back to a previous question, for any British people who want to move to the Czech Republic, if you want to really understand what Czech people are like, they have to watch Hoří Panenko.
Have you progressed in the Czech culture so far that you are familiar with Jára Cimrman?
I am, but there's a caveat here. Cimrman is like Monty Python in many ways. The humor is very similar to Monty Python. Also in the fact that you have to be very, very British to really appreciate Monty Python. And you have to be really, really Czech to really appreciate Cimrman. Because it's not just playing with language, it's playing with the way that people think and the way Czech people particularly think. And it's really clever. And after being here for 18 years, I think maybe 2 more years and I could be there at a point where I would comfortably be able to watch Cimrman and know what the hell's going on. 20 years, that's what you need. 20 years living here and you can sit down comfortably and watch Cimrman and understand it.
You are also a voice artist. Do I
I am.
guess right that your typical customer is a Czech company that wants to make some spot or advertisement and they are focusing on foreign markets?
Doing voiceovers for Czech companies who want to reach out to an English-speaking market, yes, that's a big opportunity for me here. There's also, I've done a lot of work on tourist guides. You know, the audio guides when you go to a castle and you have the little machine and you put it here and you walk around listening to some idiot telling you about the castle. That some idiot is me. But also I'm trying to sort of branch out into, I've been doing recently some radio ads for companies in the UK. Because of the nature of the business, location is not an issue. But yeah, but also doing radio ads. And I really like the idea of doing voices for animation. There's a lot of animation that's based on video games and this kind of thing, or fan fiction. And they look for people who, you know, if you can you copy the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi or something like this. And that is a really attractive offer for me. I think, oh, could I do Obi-Wan Kenobi? No, would I do Alec Guinness or would I do Ewan McGregor? And this kind of thing. Or you have to do silly voices for cartoon characters and stuff. And I really like this idea.
If now we have a listener who is hearing about the Czech Republic for the first time, which reasons would you give him or her to dig a bit more deeper and maybe consider Czech Republic as a place for life?
It's real. That's the one thing that really struck me about the Czech Republic. It's sounds stupid. It's a real place with real people with real lives. Very often in places like Britain, people are obsessed with looking good and the image that people have. And, you know, they have to have the right house and the right car and the right job because that's what looks good. Whereas here, people are not so much obsessed with that. People enjoy life and you can enjoy what you've got, not worry about what you haven't got, which I think is a very Czech thing. And if you haven't got it, make it. You know, with the coronavirus and people have to wear face masks, and they were made compulsory in the Czech Republic, but there weren't any face masks. So the entire country spontaneously, with no instruction from anybody, started making face masks because everybody just thought, I haven't got it. Oh, let's make it then. And it just seemed like the most natural thing in the world. In the UK, everybody was complaining, we haven't got face masks. How are we going to wear face masks when we haven't got face masks? Here, everyone went, okay, let's make them then. And that's what Czechs are like. And that's what the country's like. And it's a beautiful country as well. The landscape is fantastic. They've got forests and lakes and mountains. And in the winter, you can go skiing. And in the summer, you can go hiking and cycling and swimming in rivers and lakes. And it's fantastic. And the beer's great as well.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for being here. And I hope that you will drink a lot of good Czech beer in the near future when they open the pubs again.
Oh, yes, I will. Thank you for having me. It's been lovely. Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.